You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive and the host of Built to Convert. On this show, we dig into real-world strategies behind growth with founders, CMOs, and agency leaders who know how to turn insight into action. From analytics, execution, we explore how sharp thinking and smart marketing fuel revenue. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive, the digital agency for brands ready to scale smarter. At Session, we combined SEO, paid media, and analytics to help companies grow with intention. From data-driven testing to full funnel execution, we work with B2B and B2C brands to unlock what works and double down on performance. Learn more at sessioninteractive.com. All right, today I'm excited to have Liza Adams on the show, a seasoned marketing executive, founder of GrowthPath, and a trusted advisor to B2B leaders navigating transformation and innovation. Liza has spent her career at the intersection of enterprise marketing, team building, and business reinvention. With a background that spans tech giants, startups, and now GrowthPath, she helps CMOs and marketing teams unlock clarity, drive impact, and lead with confidence. Liza, great to see you. Thanks so much for your time. Welcome to the show.
So delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Of course. No, it's my pleasure. We tend to kind of kick these off with just getting some backgrounds in terms of your marketing leadership and your prowess. Talk to us kind of overarching what have you been up to the last few years, and what led you ultimately to create GrowthPath?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. It's a bit of a story, but I'm gonna try to condense.
Sure.
So I'm based here in Boulder, Colorado, and I've been here for 25 years. But half of my career was actually spent in Silicon Valley. Worked for tech giants, Juniper Networks, now part of HP, Brocade, now part of Broadcom. I was with Pure Storage. Then I went into the SaaS world, working with Smartsheet. Always been in executive marketing roles. And my last corporate role, I was head of marketing for a company here in Colorado, and honestly thought that it was going to be my last one. Because it was very purpose-driven, had exceptional product market fit, and it just had a culture that felt like home. And I was thinking, hey, 5 years and I'm out. But it wasn't meant to be. We were acquired by PE about a year and a half into my tenure, and we all turned over.
Sure.
And then I was a little bit sad because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, and whether if I had it in me to go back to the Valley, right? So I started thinking about my post-operator role, potentially serving on boards, and found out that there are only 41 marketers on Fortune 1000 boards.
Wow.
And less than 3% of all board members, regardless of company size, has marketing experience. So I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a climb, right? So I dug really deeply why it is we're not on boards, but there are many reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is that we are perceived as tacticians. So, many see our email campaigns or websites, social posts, ads, events, but they don't necessarily see the deep strategic work that we do to deeply understand customers, product market fit, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, the messaging, category creation, category leadership. And so at that point, I decided I'm not going back. And I am going to, be a fractional and work with CEOs and boards that believe in the strategic value of marketing. So if they want to just generate a bunch of MQLs but don't have good product market fit, I'm not their CMO. So, but I did find these companies, and my exit from my last company happened to coincide with the launch of ChatGPT. And at that moment, when I looked into this, I believed, and I still do, that it is a gift to marketers. That generative AI is a gift to marketers that could actually flip the script and make us and elevate our strategic value. Because unlike what most people have used ChatGPT for, like, creating emails or summarizing long reports or helping them draft a blog. I saw it as a thought partner. I saw it as a teammate that will actually help us identify insights that we normally would not, and it would inform decision making. We could actually use it as a thought partner to ideate and make our strategies better. So, so now that is exactly what I do. I now advise the C-suite, CMOs, heads of marketing, go-to-market teams, and I inspire them with what's possible with AI. Way beyond, just basic content creation, starting with understanding how AI is changing our customer behaviors and then how we should be serving them better using AI, and then helping them transform their teams where we think about AI not just as a tool, but as a teammate. And I've helped teams transform into human AI organizations where some of the teammates are human and some of the teammates are AI.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's awesome. A lot of things to unpack there. I love that, just the strategy positioning, right? That's what we've been really trying to tout to ourselves and to our clients as well in terms of how to utilize AI. Were you bullish on AI before ChatGPT came out? What was your knowledge like that? Talk to us about that.
Well, I've done machine learning and predictive analytics right before generative AI, but that's such a good question. And I failed to share with you that I'm actually not passionate about AI. I'm passionate about elevating the strategic value of marketing, using business as a force for good, and ensuring that we have diverse voices at every table. AI as an amplifier just happens to amplify those things. So AI to me is a means to an end. It is not my passion. And given that it gives me, a voice and it amplifies my passion, that's the main reason I lean into it.
I love that. That's a really just helpful positioning statement. Talk about a little bit just about your early career to a certain extent in terms of your leadership capabilities. How did some of those different companies that you worked for, different leadership positions, help shape how you operate today, collaborating with CMOs, collaborating with CEOs and boards that you do now?
Yeah. So, I don't know about you or your listeners, but I'm a big superhero fan.
Love it. Love it.
I especially like the movie The Justice League, where you
Okay.
have
Yeah.
6 superheroes and they have highly complementary superpowers, but they all have the same mission to save Earth, right? And that is a huge part of my leadership principle, that we we don't need 6 Aquamans or 6 Wonder Women, but we need highly complementary superpowers in a team that trust each other, and we're all aligned to achieve the same set of goals. So from the very beginnings of my career, I've always believed in those complementary superpowers, because when you put them together, we can really achieve much more. And what's interesting now is, as innovation advances, especially in the world of AI, I continue that analogy into working not just with humans but with AI, because here's my thinking there is, a lot of people think about AI as a potential replacement for humans. But when we think about leadership and collaborating with people, I actually believe that AI can make us better versions of ourselves. Because if you think about it, I'll just use myself as an example. Like, I have really bad memory. I don't remember a lot of things. Like, if we talked last week, I can't remember what we talked about. That's why I always take a lot of notes and things.
Sure. Yeah, it's important.
And as human beings, we also can't be our best self every day, right? We're affected by what's happening in our environment. We're sick, or we're worried about the kids, or worried about aging parents. we have deadlines to meet and things like that, right? So we can't always be our best selves. Um, AI, on the other hand, is not affected by its environment. It doesn't matter if there's like a 8.9, magnitude earthquake, it still performs the same way when we're all freaking out, right? And it also has a lot more memory than I do. So it overcomes my limitations, but at the same time, it doesn't have a moral compass. And it doesn't have the fire in the belly. It doesn't have the passion that I do for ensuring diverse voices at every table. So when I think about leadership and building teams, I think about putting together people and now machines, AI, that complement each other.
Yeah, beautifully said. There is this, what I've been talking about a lot lately is the intimidation, the skepticism, the trepidation that teams have associated with AI, and how to utilize it. We were just talking to Matt McKenzie, who runs an agency called Alloy Digital out of Atlanta, and they're doing a lot with AI and ML work. And we were just talking about how large companies seem to have come with acute issues, and smaller companies seem to be really like, just educate me, come to give us some understanding. Are you experiencing that? Are you experiencing that intimidation and skepticism on certain things? I mean, you had mentioned it, and that comes up all the time, right? Of, hey, is this going to replace my job? Kind of things like that. How do you approach that and make sure you're kind of alluding to it already and making sure you have the strategy buddy? But I'm curious your thoughts on something like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy, and I respect wherever people are in the AI learning journey.
Sure.
Because this thing is what, 2.5 years old, 3 years at most, right? We've never seen anything like it, and we have full-time jobs, and then all of a sudden, on top of our 120%, 150% oversubscribed work, we now have to learn AI, right? And I've always used my husband as an example. He's a published author of young adult sci-fi novels.
So cool.
And he hesitates putting his works into AI because he fears that it's going to ingest it and then somebody else will be able to write the next series of novels. But at the same time, he's a right leg amputee due to childhood cancer. And he embraces AI from the perspective of robotics because he believes that it can change the way people work and live, especially those with disabilities. So you can see that the acceptance and adoption of AI varies by person because of what's happening, not just in their work lives, but in their personal lives. And even within that person, the acceptance of AI varies by use case. So I think we need to be super respectful and super graceful about, helping people adopt AI and helping them understand it, because we have very different things happening to us, right? But I've always said that AI literacy is foundational because when we are literate and when we understand AI, we can make better decisions for ourselves, our families, our teams, businesses, and society. When we don't understand, just like when we don't understand anything or any topic, we risk being influenced by others who may not hold the same values as we do. So I start there, right? In just having that conversation at a human level before even having a conversation at that technical level, because I tell people AI is actually not that hard. When it comes to this transformation, the hardest part are us, humans. We're very complex beings. Like, it's actually human change management. It's a mindset and behavior shift to go from in the ChatGPT console that has a single conversation box at the bottom with no instructions for what to say, and looks like a question and answer machine that you could put like a Jeopardy question or a Trivial Pursuit question, to go from that to actually thinking that this can help you with strategy and what if scenario planning or even creative, that's a huge leap for many, right?
Yes.
So I just think we need to be super empathetic and meet people where they're at, and just this upskilling and reskilling motion needs to happen and give people the space to learn.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I haven't heard a lot of that, and honestly, before, because I think there is just like, oh, you're behind. You need to get up to speed, and there's just all this again intimidation and just I'm
Intimidation.
behind. I'm behind. And lead with empathy. It's like, come on, things are changing so quickly. No one's the foremost expert at certain things.
Yeah.
Let's say you're evaluating a company or coming in, Liza, and that company, again, doesn't have to be necessarily related to AI. I know there's that application across the board. But let's say that company is just fixated in execution mode. How do you help them shift towards strategic alignment around strategy? I mean, what comes to mind based on what we're talking about is just how people just are getting in and utilizing AI, but again, they're losing sight of the strategic alignment to their core goals and KPIs. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we've shifted from growth at all costs to sustained profitability, like fairly quickly, right? Over the last 3 or 4 years. That's also a hard shift because it's a change in behavior. And I've also used this analogy, and I said, just like we can't out-exercise a bad diet, we can't out-campaign a bad product market fit, right? So, and then, that applies whether you use AI or not, right? But if you use AI, let's just say you've got bad product market fit, meaning that your product doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the market squarely, or you're going after a market that doesn't need your product. And then you use AI to do all the tactics for campaigns. You create so much content now because you've got AI. You're personalizing all sorts of emails. You create videos. Then I feel like that's like doing an all-out campaign for snowblowers in Florida.
Yeah.
Optimized, right? So you're AIing the crap out of everything, but it's not landing.
Yep.
So this is one of those things where AI amplifies. It's an accelerator of what's there, and what's there could be good or bad. So if it's bad, it's a faster path to failure. Like in that example, got bad product market fit. Guess what? It's a waste of resources, waste of time, dollars, and faster path to failure. So I've actually guided people and said, before you just start, AIing the tactics, think about AIing your strategy. Like make that right, make the foundational elements of strategy right, get your product market fit correctly. And then, you'd have a better shot at landing and getting amplified as a good company that serves the needs of the market really well when you infuse AI in your tactics.
Yeah. Beautifully said. I think that's just a key lesson for all of us, right? That just want to jump in, want to figure it out. Liza, selfishly curious your thoughts on prompting and how just it's become, I keep mentioning these words, intimidation, trepidation around, hey, just, people use it a couple times or maybe used it last year and like, oh yeah, help me with my resume or help me with this. But, I didn't really get a lot out of it or the end product wasn't great. And I tell them generally, it's like, okay, like here's a framework that works for us. Let me know if you adopt it. And it really is establishing context for the GPT to define loosely what you're thinking around, and then assigning the role of the GPT. It doesn't have to be, an expert in this or that, whatever. And then ultimately allowing it to run and then stopping it. We stop it and then say, interview me question by question individually and allow me to get more details. What are your thoughts on that approach? Or is there, an iteration around that or things that you think would work better? Or is that a good starting path? I'm curious.
Yeah, I get this question quite a bit. Oh, I know I prompt well.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
asking it really good questions, but it's not giving me
Sure.
good answers back, right? And therefore I give up. And it will never be as good as my team or me. And when that happens, again, empathy.
Yes. Lead with empathy.
Because there was no instruction manual, right? And I will tell you, even the frameworks and the prompt guidelines fall short, and I'll tell you the reasons why. When people say, "Hey, I'm not getting the right response," I always say, "Okay." My good friend Andy Crestodina basically says that without the human being thinking, AI stands for average information. Because, let's just say, hey, Tyler, you walk into the door at a brand new company, you're a smart guy, right? And somebody just says, Tyler, can you write a viral post on project management trends and, capabilities? And you'd be like, okay, no context whatsoever. You're going to pull from the 85% of the internet that you were trained on.
Exactly.
You're super smart, right? And you're going to go, I think it's this, that. And the response is not going to be highly relevant because you have no context. You have no context of what they're trying to achieve, what the challenges are, who the ideal customer profile is, what the persona, the positioning, the messaging, nothing, right? So, to your point, there's lots of different guidelines on prompting. I actually have used a variation of Christopher Penn's prompt of race, but I added G to it, and it's grace. G for goal, R for role, A for actions, C for context, and then E for examples. The
Great.
more that you give it that, the better.
Yeah.
However, I even think that falls short because it's just the mechanics of it, right? We're not pushing this thing to actually think differently. So I would argue that we need to say things like, show me some counterintuitive ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Show me some well accepted facts that are not supported by data. Show me some things, some topics that are rarely covered. Like make this thing think. And there's nothing in a Grace prompt or nothing in an open AI prompt guideline that tells us how to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue AI will not think differently unless we think differently.
Mm-hmm. Do you suggest stream of consciousness too? I think a lot of people are still stuck into typing things to get it out. We're like bullish on all audio now, pretty much. I'm curious your thought there, just to get the ideas out.
I actually love this because I'm a slow reader and I'm also a slow writer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually an auditory learner.
Sure. Yeah, I love it.
So before AI, like I have tons of ideas in my head,
Yeah.
but it's all stuck there. Like I can't get it out because I'm a slow writer, a slow reader, all sorts of things,
yeah.
right? So now what I do is like literally just start typing. Here's what I'm thinking. This is my stream of consciousness, blah, 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 blah. Lots of ideas, right? Like lots of spelling errors, incoherent sentences, right? And I just say, can you organize my thoughts? And oh, by the way, what do you think of my thoughts? And then that begins to form a story, right? Some organization, and when it responds to me, I tend to use multiple AIs. So let's say I brainstorm with ChatGPT. It tells me, "Oh, here's what you're trying to do, Lisa." I then cut and paste that entire conversation. I give it to Claude, and I say, "Claude, here's what I'm doing. This is what ChatGPT said. What do you think? Do you have a different point of view?
Sure. Yeah.
And then Claude starts saying something,
Smart.
I get different points of view. So now, as a thought partner, I feel like it's not just, me, myself, and I with my ideas locked up in my head. I've got not just one, but two or more AIs that I can bounce ideas off of, and I can get multiple perspectives.
Yeah, love that. Just utilizing it just to ideate with you, follow along. help me get the thoughts out of my head. Yeah, I think we're a lot alike like that.
And I
Yeah.
actually love like Claude in
Yeah.
particular
Mhm.
because I'd give Claude the ideas and it'll say something and I'll say, hey, can you turn that into an infographic? Or in fact, can you turn that into an interactive dashboard?
Mhm.
And then it codes and then there it is. There's my idea.
Yeah, the technical use cases for Claude and some of the other things we found so much better in certain cases than chat. So that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool to hear. Switching gears here a little bit, put you on the spot. Can you share like a misstep or a challenge that taught you something pivotal about leadership? Again, you bring such a wealth of knowledge, Liza, and not only with AI as of late, but just your experience is impressive. So I'm curious to hear something like that. That's something that sticks with you as that you can recite, perhaps.
Yeah. I wish I would have known this when I was in my early 30s,
Mm. Mhm.
maybe even mid 30s. But I think I realized it later in my career. It is better to be effective than right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, um, I have ideas. I feel that they're right, right? Like we
Sure.
all
Yeah.
have visions of something. And earlier in my career, I held on to what I believed was right so closely, right? Because I get so passionate, about the things that I believe in. And I think it's just human nature to do that. But even me, I'm more so like, I'm passionate about certain things.
Mhm.
And I realized that, we have to meet people where they are. That, if you go in hot and they're not quite ready to receive that, just like in AI adoption, right? You're not quite ready to like, you can't just go, you're behind. Like I don't ever say that ever.
Oh, don't. Yeah. Yeah. It's really.
They will recoil, right? Even though I believe in my heart, we need to embrace this thing, right? But okay, you're not behind. Let's give ourselves grace, a little bit at a time. And if we take this in bite-sized chunks and we're effective in bringing people along, we will achieve the goal, right? Some faster than others. But if we go in hot, you will never achieve the goal. You will never bring people along. You will never be able to earn trust.
Mhm.
And that is first and foremost from a leadership perspective. Until the team trusts you and until the team trusts each other, it will never be effective. You will never be able to achieve. I don't care how big the team is. A small team with built-in trust will be able to achieve so much more than a huge team that has no trust between them.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, better be effective than right.
I like that. You're giving us some quality quotes here. Uh, Good social shares coming up here. Uh, we talked briefly, well, a lot about collaboration to a certain extent, and I love what you had mentioned a while ago or earlier in the conversation around how small the percentage is of marketing professionals at the board or executive leadership level. What does it look like when marketing and the broader executive team are truly aligned? What is that? What does that look like to you? And then I think part of that question is like, why is it? Why? Because you mentioned they just think of of us as tacticians. Is that really the reason? I'm not saying you're lying here, but I'm curious what else there is there.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, right? And not every marketer is a good marketer.
Let's be clear. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So there are great marketers out there, and there are marketers that are truly tacticians, right? And even great marketers, I think we kind of got sucked into this, the growth at all costs, right? When it's growth at all costs, we need it now, we need leads now. It's really hard to pull back and think strategically.
Hmm.
But I think the biggest part of this is I believe that a good marketer, it's not about the marketing. it's about the market.
Mm-hmm.
Because marketing is the action, right? But if you're about the market, that's who we serve. Like in the C-suite, there is no like chief legaling officer or chief financing officer or chief executing officer. There's no doing, right? It's the thing that we serve that should be first and foremost. And when we think about the market rather than the marketing, it goes way beyond our what people might define as just the market. It's the entire experience, the entire go-to-market. And in fact, a good marketer doesn't just control or think about its craft, it actually thinks cross-functionally because the customer doesn't care about our silos. It doesn't care about sales, marketing, CS, product, doesn't care. Right? So when a marketer goes in and just talks about their craft, then I think the marketer is in danger of being pigeonholed as highly tactical in their craft, right? But when we elevate above that and think about the customer, the whole go-to-market motion, that gives us the right to to have a much richer conversation at the business level. I tell people, we need to be seen as business leaders and not functional leaders. And when that happens, then we earn the right to be on a board. But when we are seen as the social media, the ads people, the leads people, and we're not truly deeply understanding the market, then we don't earn the right to be on a board.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
Yeah. I think that it just, again, I think back to early in my career of just like fixating and obsessing over the channel, right? And it's like the tactics associated with it. And you lose sight. You're just like, yeah, I have a strategy, but it's like, do you really? And you're just fixating on perfection of how the site's configured, how the content's structured, but you're losing sight of the overarching goals to a certain extent, and you're losing sight and not maintaining a progressive strategy at all. Right?
Yeah. If I could add to that, Tyler, I have a good litmus test on whether we are, just functional leaders or business leaders. We all face in marketing budget cuts, right? Budget cuts, layoffs, and it feels like we're always the first ones to get hit.
Yep.
And I actually say, get ahead of that. Instead of somebody telling you to cut your budget, let go of the budget. Because here's an example. Given the pace of technology right now, I would argue that there aren't a lot of companies that have good product market fit. Mm-hmm. The products have remained relatively the same, but the market has shifted, right? The way we search has shifted. The way we buy, our preferences have shifted. When those shift and our products haven't changed, then we got bad product market fit. So if we actually say, if we're a business leader, business thinking marketing leader, and we say, hey, let's fix the product. Let's fix the go-to-market motion. Here's some budget. When we fix the product, we got good product market fit. Now, can I get that budget back? And now I will campaign the heck out of it, right? But right now, with bad product market fit, I don't need the money.
No.
You guys need the money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then that shows that you are a business leader, not a functional leader. You don't care about the money in your department, or, even say, hey, I've got some open headcount that I don't need. You take it because you need it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's just one example.
I think it's just the silos, right, are just inevitable at any company and any agency, things like that. It's just like, and you're right, they're fighting for budget. They're not really I mean, there's clearly a selfish component too, Liza. Like, hey, I want to cover my ass to a certain extent. I want to look good. And, and that takes empathy. It takes like a lot of skill to state like, hey, our product market fit is not great. Like, what can we do? especially as a marketer, right? Because be like, well, what am I going to do in the meantime, right? I can help you get stuff out. The product just not great. What can we do? Product research, innovation, things like that. How can I help? So it takes some guts there.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with? I mean, like suggesting that to teams? I mean, this kind of goes to my next question around transformation for CMOs. Are you met with like, oh no, I can't do that, or sounds good, Liza, but it doesn't bode well for me in my career.
Well, again, a lot of empathy,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Because if you're a CMO, you don't have good product market fit, and you're being asked to do more with less.
Mhm.
I don't know how you do that. Right? Like you move on, or at some point, faster path to failure, and that's why we have 18-month tenures at the CMO level, right? But
Exactly.
again, here's my take on this: is it's one of those where not everybody has the liberty to just walk away from a job. We have mouths to feed. We have, children to put through school. We have mortgages and all sorts of things. And to say, hey, I'm going to give you my budget and my head count to fix product market fit. And then now I'm down to X number of people. You really don't need a CMO. I'm out of here.
Mm.
That's really tough.
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly
Right?
tough.
That's really tough because now you've got survival.
Mhm.
And we're all humans, right? We have to put food on the table. But at the same time, I also guide many CMOs right now who are on the bench. You got to watch out. You got to look for that
Mm.
situation,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
If you know that that's going to be what you're going to walk into, be prepared. I know you have to put food on the table, but be prepared to be in that environment.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not easy, right? For those who have the luxury to not take the first role, sure, be picky, right? But if you don't have that luxury, then be prepared to operate in that kind of environment.
Mm. Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. Take some guts, show some ownership. Yeah, develop yourself as a better marketer, a better kind of contributor to that company too, to understand. One thing I love to hear about from people is kind of their daily rituals, philosophies, things. You talked about stuff just around like audio learner. You got a lot of ideas. Utilizing AI to kind of synthesize and put your thoughts on paper or on your computer. What are some of the daily, weekly rituals that help keep you stay grounded in your work, Liza, and help you keep refreshed and motivated? Besides the
Yeah,
obvious monetary aspects, right? Or maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah.
well, the money's nice, but I am so fortunate and so grateful that I'm able to pursue my passion, and I just happen to get paid for it.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
it's also super nice that I get paid to learn,
Mhm.
not just on my own, but in the world of AI, no one's an expert, right? So the more we share with each other, the better off we all are. The rising tide lifts all boats. So every conversation that I have, just like I'm having this conversation, I'm learning a lot by just talking with you, right?
Mhm.
So I love that aspect of my job.
Mhm.
So I stay grounded by talking to a lot of people because I learn so much. The other piece of this is given that no one is an expert in AI, I kind of lost my, what do you call it, imposter syndrome. Because if there's no expert, who is to judge, right? All I'm doing is sharing my experiences, what works and what doesn't work. No one has best practices when it comes to AI. I don't even think that the big AI companies know exactly how AI works, much like we don't know how the human mind truly works, right? So that's pretty grounding in the work that I do. The other things, the more tactical things that I do, given that I'm an auditory learner, is, uh, I constantly put long documents into Notebook LM or 11 Labs. I'm constantly listening to podcasts when I'm walking the dog right there, putting on makeup. Is like constant listening, right? Eating, whatever. And then I have a walking pad. So unless, I'm talking like I am right now, I am literally prompting ChatGPT or doing something else, listening to a podcast or watching a webinar. I am walking on my walking pad. Today it's a bad, it's kind of cold outside, but normally if it's warm enough, my desk and my walking pad is on the deck and my office is outside, right? And I've read so many studies that say, 60% better creativity when you're around plants and when you are actually walking and all sorts of things. So I do little things like that. I also tend to get up super early. I'm up at 5. But I go to bed super early too. But when I get up at 5, it's, there's no one else talking to me, right? I can actually do deep thinking because I'm very introspective and I need that time to think because the minute 8 o'clock hits, especially when it's 8 o'clock in Silicon Valley, like interruptions come into play, right? Slack here, text there, email, LinkedIn, like you name it. And then the creativity and the deep thinking is gone.
Just the importance of getting outside, right? And being mindful and being present. It's just like, it's not a groundbreaking concept, but we struggle to implement it. A lot of us, right?
Yeah.
We're heads down. One thing I love, I don't know if I love it, but necessarily, so on the SEO side for us, paid media and analytics, a lot of clients that we've run into and if we're in a sales process right now, majority of those clients have been burned in the past, right? By an agency that just didn't serve them correctly, didn't understand, and just was maybe so fixated on tactics. I'm sensing there's going to be a whole windfall of these, AI consultants or AI experts, so to speak, that are going to be out there. Listen, we came up, there was no, here's how to do SEO, here's how to do paid media, here's how to do analytics. That's not a thing. And it's the same thing with AI. So there's a lot of just like self-proclaimed experts and things like that. How do you train or how do you vet some of these individuals, and what recommendations of caution would you have to companies that are looking to bring on an AI consultant or bring on a strategist? What should they know before getting involved? What due diligence should they conduct?
Yeah. So anyone who tells you that they've been doing AI, generative AI for more than 5 years, radar up, right? So because November of 2022 was not 5 years ago.
Sure.
Unless they were in like Google DeepMind, working on this in the lab. But even that, it's like not a practical application, real world application of AI, right? So be very careful of that. I also don't like the word expert. So it's like, okay, expert in 2.5 years, fine. Okay, maybe, right?
Sure.
And then when it comes to search in particular, like this is a big topic. It's not just about the technology, it's the behavior of people that's changing. Mm-hmm. And look for their understanding of how that behavior is changing. So the way we search, right? Now there's a lot more context that somebody says. Yeah. Oh, I got a family of 4. I have 2 teens. I'm going to Hawaii. I want a 7-day itinerary. I want moderately priced hotels near the beach. And I want adventure activities that's close by. Give me an itinerary, give me the drive times, and also show me restaurant options. That's the prompt. So like that's, the world is different, right? And one of the key things in search is, will that consultant understand that? And if they say that they know the algorithm, double check that, because I don't even think Google knows the algorithm. They're changing it literally all the time. Before it was like 17% of the responses were in AI overviews, and then now it's different. Then now there's AI mode. Like, it changes all the time. So if somebody says they know the algorithm, double check that one. And the other thing is this notion of catering to humans. I think at some point we need to cater not just to the human beings, but also to the AI agents that serve the human beings. So agents are not even here in full force, right? They're starting, and if they already know the impact of that, then it's like beware. So there's just a lot of, I go with consultants that are basically very upfront about what they know, very grounded. Here's what we know. Here's what we're observing. Here's our hypotheses. We believe it's going here. It might zig and zag, and we will have to course correct along the way. And I like it when people say, be an amazing human being first, and then be an amazing marketer. Because AI amplifies what's there, right? Like if you ask Perplexity, tell me about Tyler Lane, it will pull from all sorts of sources, your website, LinkedIn, social, Glassdoor, and makes an opinion about you.
Sure.
We don't control the message anymore. So at some point, regardless of what the algorithm is, we just need to be amazing human beings, and whatever is there will get amplified. Bad company, bad human being, that's what AI is going to serve. Good company, good human being, that's what AI is going to serve.
Let's go. I love the simplicity. Break it down like that. Liza, you are the best. Your opinions, your perspective is invaluable. Really appreciate your time today. Where can people find more about you? Where can they engage, interact with you? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, so it's Liza Adams. I know it looks like Liza, but it's Liza, Liza. And my website is growthpath.net. So look me up and follow me and subscribe to the newsletter.
Yeah, highly suggest. A great follow. A lot of great perspective. Liza, thanks again for your time. Chat soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.